Thank you guys for coming this morning. We were told that Saturday morning is a time where most of you guys are busy in bed or with your families, so we really appreciate coming out here and participating in the day. As JP was saying, we've been running forums like this for the past 7-8 years in Mumbai, London, New York, Stanford, but Dasra itself is much older than that. And so we started the organization, just to give you guys a sense, in 1999. Dasra itself means enlightened giving, and really the goal of starting this organization was to help scale social impact. And what we mean by that is we realized very quickly that there are some phenomenal organizations that we have in India that are really changing some of the world's most wicked problems. And these organizations were sort of doing it on their own. While they got support from individuals financially, no one was really helping them to manage and really think about their organizations differently. And that's really where we came in. We were sort of started off as an NGO for NGOs, for lack of a better comparison, helping them achieve their goals, their dreams, and their impact on the ground. And we did this for about a decade and continue to do so. But it was really in 2009-10 where we realized there was actually a considerable amount of wealth that was being created in this country. And it was time to share our 10 years of learnings in the field in working with some of the most phenomenal social entrepreneurs that the country and the world has to offer, and really sharing those experiences with givers. And that's really what led to the launch of this particular gathering. We were strong believers of creating a safe zone for philanthropists, for them to learn about giving, to ask questions which may be uncomfortable, and for them to just experience, honestly, what we at Dasra and many others have experienced for the last 17 years. While this is our first event in Bangalore, our roots actually are very much in Bangalore. Dasra was started with me and my wife, Neera Nandi. Neera actually went to Bishop Cotton here for a couple of years in Bangalore, attending the boarding school. And so even for us at personal level, she was always pushing that we should move to Bangalore and not to Mumbai. So it's nice to be back where she sort of got more exposed to India in her 3 years here. We've also launched this particular gathering in support of, or with Rohini Nilakani. So Rohini was one of the first people to actually come to our Mumbai event and really launched sort of this form of conversations with others in the philanthropy space to really share ideas, learn from each other, and create more collaborative practices. So Rohini has been a key aspect of sort of the growth of Dasra and these kind of gatherings, both within India and globally. And then we've had the privilege of working with other philanthropists and families. And so we work quite closely, for example, with the Azim Premji philanthropic initiatives, focusing on areas such as domestic violence, empowering adolescent girls, and governance with them. We also have had the pleasure of having Dr. Devi Shetty, in fact, beam in live to leadership programs that we run for heads of NGOs. And he's shared some of his practices when it comes to scaling sustainable models affecting social change. And the reason I bring these up is because it may seem the first time we're here in Bangalore, but actually we've been able to benefit from a lot of what Bangalore has had to offer for many, many years. And we were really excited to open our first office outside of Mumbai in April here in Bangalore. And so we do have colleagues, Deepa, Shilpa, and Aditi has really been our champion for the last sort of 9 months in helping us build a footprint outside of Mumbai, but going to another city. And as JP said, for us, when we started thinking about that expansion, Bangalore was the right place. It was the right place because of the innovation that exists in the city. It was the right place because of the philanthropy and the movements that we see happening in India, actually quite a bit emerging from Bangalore. And it was the right place because you guys are also an academic hub. And we've seen a huge sort of benefit of working with students who are looking at planning careers in their own lifespan and seeing how social entrepreneurship becomes more and more part of that. So thank you guys for hosting us and coming to this gathering today, and more importantly, for welcoming us in your city. In terms of Dasra as a whole, we do 3 different things. And so to begin with, like I said, our goal is to scale social impact. And I may use some business terminology now to sort of help you understand or compare it to what you guys perhaps know in your day-to-day life. And so number 1, you have the demand side, which is In this case, we see the NGOs that are doing great work, and they're demanding funds to actually accelerate their work. So like I said earlier, we realized quite early in the game that these NGOs needed managerial support. They needed sounding boards. They needed governance to help them really take their ideas to the next level. And so Dasra spends quite a bit of time hand in hand with management teams of organizations, vetting them, helping them with their strategic plans, and providing them one-on-one support over the years. And you'll hear Kalyani, for example, speak a little bit about that later today in Dasra's journey with her foundation, NAS. We also work with philanthropists, realizing that giving itself is actually quite difficult, especially if you want to affect social change. And so as opposed to the business world, where there are capital markets, there's equity research, there's quite a bit of information out there to help you make smart investments, in the philanthropic world, this information is just not readily available. And so Dasra has a large team that goes out researching different sectors, identifying organizations that are doing great work, helping them create stronger 5-year plans, and then providing all of this information free of cost online. And so we have close to 70 research reports that you can access on various topics, from malnutrition to improving the quality of education in government schools, to child marriage, to domestic violence. And all of this is open source, so depending on the area that really you're excited about, you could learn about this information from the ground up. These research reports typically take us 9 to 12 months to create. We end up meeting between or analyzing between 200 to 300 nonprofits in a particular sector, understanding which interventions are creating the greatest impact at scale, and highlighting those models. So as a funder, you not only get excited about the sector, but you understand where in the value chain you want to participate. And so we definitely take a business-like approach to giving, realizing that the communities we're all here to serve need that same rigor and discipline that has created some of the best companies that our country has to offer that have gone global. Post the research, we provide, like I said, a considerable amount of time with these philanthropists in helping them not just learn about their individual giving, but ideally creating collaborative giving platforms where groups of philanthropists can come together, learn from each other, choose organizations, and pool capital. And so again, like you see in the business world, it's in essence, our research reports are used to then syndicate a larger amount of funds and managerial support from our funders to then help these organizations grow and scale. And so we have a sector sort of view when we start looking at development, just like you would in the for-profit world, realizing it's not just the scaling of one NGO that can change the lives of the hundreds of millions that need it, but more of a collaborative action that is required. And then finally, post-funding, we spend a considerable amount of time with the funders, with the organizations, with government, with media, and various other stakeholders to ensure that we're on the right track. And more importantly, we're learning from the field and what the consumers actually need from these products and services versus sort of pushing down top solutions which really don't work. And so our team, the organizations, and our funders, in fact, spend a considerable amount of time in the field listening to the communities that are getting these services, because they're the ones who, at the end of the day, are actually doing the hard work. And I think that's really important for us to realize, especially as philanthropists. Many times we think because we've done the hard work in building successful businesses and writing checks, we at times mistake ourselves as the ones that are driving social change. And what we've learned from 1999 and onwards, it's the communities that are being served, those who don't have access to clean drinking water, those who don't have access to toilets, those who may live in households where their mothers were married off at the age of 13, 14, or 15, those who don't have access to nutrition. These are the individuals that are actually doing the hard work, and it's our privilege to serve them and enable a sense of a level playing field so they can lift themselves out of poverty. And this sort of thought and mindset of humility and realizing that we are just lucky to be part of this ecosystem, and in no way should we think at any point in time, because we're the givers, that we're driving it, is critical to Dasra. We realize whether it's the girls that take part in the NAS Foundation's programs that you hear today, that you will hear more about today, or the communities that are being helped by IHMP that works on child marriage in rural Maharashtra, or even communities in Manamadurai, for example, that are being supported in the education of Dalit children. It's these communities that are working tirelessly to give some sort of equalizer to our country. And it's in our vested interest, both as those who have attained wealth, as citizens of the country, and those that want to participate in the development sector, to provide that assistance and listening to them, understanding their needs, and then providing not just funds, but our networks and our business skills to enable them to grow and scale. In the last 17 years, just to give you a sense, our first decade of work, like I said, spent a lot of time with these NGOs, and in that we helped manage and direct close to $10 million worth of funding, and this was till about 2009 and 10. We then realized there was a need to talk about these learnings, not just from ourselves, but the great leaders you'll hear from today, and started hosting events like this. And since that time, we've raised an additional $44 million for the NGO sector. And that demonstrates to us the need of having honest and open dialogue, the need to collaborate, and the need for all of us to realize whether you're a beneficiary or a customer of the services that are being delivered, you're an NGO leader that's delivering these services, or if you're a funder, how do we bring all of us on the same table and align our own goals and visions so we can work more productively to make impact for the billions that need greater equity and dignity in their lives. Thank you so much for coming today. I'll be wrapping up the sessions later today, and I really appreciate you guys having the conversations, as JP had mentioned, being open about not just what you've done, but more importantly, the challenges you face, because we're hopeful that people in the audience can help you with that. Thank you.